It had been 10 days since Sarah left, and Jason's bed still felt colder than the night she blocked his number. He hadn't slept a full hour in a week. His brain throbbed like a dying hard drive, restless, glitching, full of corrupted memories of her smile, her perfume, and the way she used to say, "I love you," while texting someone else behind his back. Tonight was no different. At 3:14 a.m., curled up under his blanket with headphones on and the screen's glow pulsing against his face, Jason opened a private browser and typed in a site his friend had once whispered about like it was a sacred code, silkensecrets.club. The landing page blinked. No frills, just a message box and a note, discretion guaranteed, all transactions final. That suited Jason. He wasn't here for logic, he just wanted something, anything, to distract his brain from obsessing over Sarah's last text. "You were always too soft for me, I need someone with a backbone." So when a masked profile popped up with the name Young Empress, Jason clicked instantly. Her profile photo was black and white, a woman in a velvet mask, black gloves, and a skin-tight leather coat, holding something that looked like either a riding crop or a modified silencer. It could have been cosplay, or porn, or both. The caption said, "Service by appointment, no refunds." Jason's fingers trembled on the keyboard. "Jason, how much for one time?" The reply came fast, like she was already waiting. "Young Empress, big job or small job?" Jason blinked. "What?" He squinted at the words, unsure if this was some kind of tiered subscription or just edgy roleplay. "Jason. Sorry, I'm new, what's the difference?" "Young Empress, small job, just talk, no hands. Big job, full service, done in one go, no redo." Jason reread it 3 times. No hands, full service, done in one go? This was definitely adult code. The censorship bots were already filtering half his thoughts into XX. He assumed talk meant, like, dirty talk. Full service probably meant everything else. Jason's ears flushed. Jason, big job, of course. There was a pause. Young Empress, how many people? Jason stared at the screen. Group packages. She does groups? He hesitated, swallowed, then responded quickly before he could change his mind. Jason, just one, me. Can I get a discount? The reply was instant and cold. Young Empress, no bargaining. Jason whistled softly. She was strict. Jason, any special requests allowed? The reply came slower this time. Young Empress, within reason, extra charge for special interests. Jason's brain short-circuited. What even was within reason here? He didn't want to sound like a creep, but also, wasn't that the point? Jason, anything is possible? There was a full minute of silence. Young Empress, depends, send name, age, photo. He complied. His photo was just a moody selfie with dim lighting. He hoped it made him look lonely, not pathetic. Jason, what's your name? Young Empress, not needed. Once payment clears, there will be no contact afterward. Her responses were like frosted glass, smooth, cold, impossible to read through. Jason, there has to be a name, even a code name, something to call you? A long pause. Then, Young Empress, code name, Laura. But only once. Jason didn't know what she meant by only once, but he didn't ask. He had already paid. And somewhere across the city, Laura locked her phone, slipped the magazine into a matte black pistol, and muttered, "Another idiot thinks he's paying for fantasy. He has no idea what he just booked." Jason used to believe in good people, the kind who held doors, responded to texts, and didn't leave you for someone who drove a better car. He wasn't flashy, never had the money or muscles for that, but he was steady. Thoughtful. He remembered birthdays, brought backup chargers, and memorized coffee orders. The kind of guy who'd take photos of your shoes just to buy the same pair in the right size next Valentine's Day. And yet, when Sarah packed up her clothes into that oversized pink suitcase, she said with a perfectly straight face, "It's not that you're a bad person, Jason, you're just basic." He still remembered standing in the doorway, mouth dry, while she adjusted her hair in the mirror like she was heading to brunch instead of breaking him in half. Sarah had always been that kind of pretty, Instagram pretty. All straight hair, curated pouts, and lace tops that said "sweetheart" in cursive across the chest while she texted 3 other guys. She used affection like a lollipop, sugary, sticky, and disposable. At first, she used to call Jason puppy, said it with a laugh, like it was cute that he always said yes. Yes to her birthday weekend in Bali, yes to her habit of disappearing at clubs until 3 a.m. with her phone mysteriously dead. Yes to her excuses. Until the night he found her in bed with some guy named Marcus who wore Gucci slides indoors. Jason hadn't raised his voice. He didn't scream or cry. He'd just stood there holding the takeout he bought her, shrimp dumplings, her favorite, and realized something strange. She didn't look guilty, she looked bored. After that, something inside him broke quietly, like a wire snapping inside a lamp. No explosion, just flickering light, then darkness. He stopped going out, stopped responding to group chats, switched to freelance work, and turned his apartment into a cocoon. There were nights when silence pressed on his chest. Tea like a weighted blanket, comfortable and crushing. That's how he found the site, or rather, how the site found him. He hadn't expected Laura. The first time she called herself Silver Swan, Jason had laughed out loud. He thought it was a bit, some elaborate cosplay gimmick. Her tone was so deadpan it almost felt sarcastic, but the longer they talked, through anonymous messages and auto-deleting threads, the more Jason noticed something off. She never flirted, never used emojis, her messages were surgical, professional, and yet, beneath the precision, there was presence. She always responded, even when he asked dumb things like, "Do you believe in fate?" or "What's your favorite crime movie?" Once, after a long silence, she answered, "Anything with clean endings." Jason stared at that for a while. The more he spoke to her, the more the lines blurred. She never spoke about herself, but she always asked just enough. "Did you eat? Are you working too much again? Do you still think about her?" Jason didn't know if she cared, or if it was just high-end customer service, but he clung to the attention like a raft in open water. Still, even he knew it wasn't healthy. Jeffrey certainly did. Bro, she could be a bot, or worse, a catfish with a gun fetish. Jason rolled his eyes as they walked down the cracked sidewalk toward their usual corner diner. "She's not a bot." "Oh? You've met?" Jason said nothing. Jeffrey groaned. "Jesus, Jason, you haven't even video called her?" "She doesn't do calls." "Right, and I don't do taxes, doesn't mean I'm not supposed to." Jason sighed, hands stuffed in his hoodie pockets. The wind was biting that day, he was trying not to take it personally. Jeffrey had been his best friend since high school. They'd met in detention after a substitute caught them both photoshopping their math teacher into Marvel posters. Jeff was the loud one, the one with choice. Opinions, girlfriends, abs, and the kind of self-assurance Jason had never managed to fake, but he was loyal, which is why he didn't let up. "Listen, I'm saying this as your boy. This sounds insane. You're telling me you dropped real money, like full-tier subscription money, on some masked chick who won't even show her face?" "She's not like that." "Exactly. She's not like anything, because she doesn't exist." Jason stopped walking. Jeffrey's tone softened slightly. "Look, man, I get it. What Sarah did to you was brutal. I'd be messed up too. But this?" He shook his head. "This is you avoiding the real world. She's either fake or fatal." Jason didn't reply. He looked across the street where cars blurred past in waves of gray and noise. In his pocket, his phone vibrated once. A message from Silver Swan. "Still meeting tonight?" He thumbed a quick reply. "Already on my way." Jeffrey saw the look in his eye and groaned. "Fine. But if you wake up in a bathtub missing a kidney, don't say I didn't warn you." Jason smiled faintly. "Fair, but maybe I've got nothing left worth stealing." They didn't speak after that. What Jason didn't say, and could never explain to anyone, was that Laura's words had started changing him, not in the sappy, rom-com way, more like erosion, quiet, slow, barely noticeable until he looked back and realized something had shifted. She never complimented him, never pitied him, but she spoke to him like he mattered, like he was a person, not a punchline. He needed that more than he'd admit. And yet, even Jason couldn't shake one thing, that feeling, deep in his chest, that she wasn't just being mysterious for effect. No, it felt like she couldn't be open, like behind her perfectly measured words, behind the mask and the distance, there was something waiting. Something with sharp edges, something that didn't belong in a fantasy at all. Jason stood outside room 707 of the Crescent Hotel, palms damp, heartbeat kicking like a trapped bird in his chest. He'd replayed this scene a dozen times in his head, her opening the door in something scandalous, maybe biting her lip, whispering something about payment first. But now, staring at the clean brass numbers and listening to his own ragged breath, everything felt too quiet. Too cold. He knocked once. The door didn't open. It clicked. Then swung inward. She was already inside. Standing by the floor lamp, hands behind her back, motionless. No leather, no lingerie. Just a black long-sleeve turtleneck tucked into dark trousers, hair tied back in a low, clean bun. A duffel bag rested beside her feet. She didn't smile. Jason blinked. Hi, I'm Jason. She looked at him for a long moment, expression unreadable behind the subtle mesh mask covering only her eyes. When she spoke, her voice was smooth, even, and dangerously calm. You came alone. Jason let out an awkward laugh. Well, I didn't think this was the kind of service you bring friends to. She didn't laugh, just tilted her head. Sit. He moved automatically, sinking into the edge of the hotel bed like a student waiting for detention to start. I wasn't sure you'd actually show, he said, trying for charm. Your messages sounded like you were either deeply professional or planning to ghost me. Her eyes flicked over him. Ghosting's inefficient, dead weight leaves evidence. Jason blinked. That's a little intense for a first date. Her gaze sharpened. Oh God, was it a date? Was this how roleplay worked? He had no idea what the rules were. I, brought extra cash, just in case we want to, extend the session or something. He reached for his wallet and grinned like an idiot. Also, I'm totally cool with hand stuff or, whatever's standard, you tell me. Her silence stretched so tight it hurt. Métral. Then she walked over, not sexy, not slow, just efficient. She stopped 2 feet in front of him, her shadow cut across his shoes. Jason, she said slowly, like she was tasting the name. You requested a big job. He nodded, swallowing. Yeah, full service, one and done, right? What's the mission objective? Excuse me? Details, names, why him? Jason's brow furrowed. Why him? I thought I was the one getting serviced. Now she blinked. A beat of silence. Her voice dropped lower. What exactly do you think you ordered? Jason laughed, but it came out nervous. I mean, don't get me wrong. You look amazing. The mask is a nice touch. Very Dark Seductress meets Mission Impossible. But, isn't this the part where you tell me to lie back and enjoy? She took a step back, then another. Jason's mouth dried. Her hand went behind her back. Something metal clicked, and suddenly, he wasn't flirting anymore. Stand up. He stood. Turn around. He turned. ID, now. What? Give me your ID, Jason, or I walk. He fumbled it out of his pocket and handed it over. She looked at it for 3 seconds, her expression unreadable. Then everything changed. Her shoulders tensed, her eyes narrowed. Her voice dropped to a whisper. You're the target, aren't you? Jason blinked. What? The next second, she moved. One hand grabbed his collar. She shoved him down onto the bed, straddled his chest, and yanked something from her belt, a thin, silver blade glinting under the lamplight. Don't move. Jason froze. What the hell are you talking about? I hired you. She stared at him, breath steady, but something trembled beneath it, like a memory trying to resurface. A little girl sitting outside a courtroom, a man in cuffs, face blank, her father, the last time she saw him before he disappeared into a system built for silence. His last words to her, don't trust the weak ones, they always ask the most, then they leave you with nothing. Jason's voice cracked beneath her. I'm not the target, I'm just lonely. My ex cheated on me, I was mad, I paid for a distraction, that's it, I swear. She stared at him like she wanted to cut truth from his skin. I thought you were a model, he whispered. Or something like that. You said full service. I thought it meant... Her body finally relaxed, just an inch, the blade stayed close. He went on, quickly. I thought maybe this would make me feel something again. I've been numb for weeks. I just wanted a reason not to hate myself. She pulled back, eyes still locked to his. The silence between them snapped like a rope pulled too tight. Then she sighed, pressed a hand to her temple. Jesus Christ! Jason didn't move. His pulse thundered. She stood, tossed the blade onto the dresser. The way it landed, no hesitation, no noise, told Jason it was real. She crossed her arms, looked away. That site was compromised last month, she said quietly. Our sting operation rerouted its payment gateway. I thought you were a planted target, someone from the list. Jason sat up slowly. I just clicked a profile. I thought you were a contract. I came to execute. Jason gave a broken laugh. That's one hell of a misunderstanding. She turned to face him again, still guarded, still unreadable. But there was something softer in her voice now. You're lucky. One wrong word and you'd be on the floor. He swallowed. I almost asked for roleplay. That would have gotten you cuffed. Jason looked at her, really looked, and for the first time, noticed how tired she seemed beneath the perfect stance. Her hair was military neat, but her eyes were worn, like someone who hadn't slept in years, someone running on vengeance instead of sleep. Who are you? He asked. Codename Silver Swan. That can't be real. It's not. Then who are you, really? She hesitated, then said softly. Someone who used to believe hurting the right people would heal me. He didn't answer, just nodded. Outside the window, a car honked twice. Inside the room, Jason realized his pants were still half unzipped. He zipped up quietly. So what now? He asked. Laura looked at him, head tilted. Then, for the first time since they met, she smiled, just barely. Now, we finish the conversation you accidentally started. Laura didn't leave the hotel room for another 15 minutes, not because she trusted Jason, she didn't, not because she was confused, though she was, but because when she looked at him, hunched over on the bed, fingers trembling around a half-full water bottle like it was the only thing tethering him to this world, something ancient in her cracked. He looked like someone who hadn't just lost a relationship, but himself. I didn't mean to waste your time, Jason said finally, voice low, staring at the floor. I know you're not what I thought. But I just wanted to feel something, even if it was fake. She didn't respond. He exhaled a shaky breath. Sarah used to say I was clingy, that I needed her too much, but she was the one who'd text me, "Where are you?" 24 times in a row when I didn't answer in 10 minutes. He laughed, but it was empty. She said I smothered her, but when I finally gave her space, she used it to climb on top of another guy. Jason's voice cracked at the word another. He pressed his palms together. She said it was my fault. That if I made her feel secure enough, she wouldn't need to cheat. Like somehow, me not tracking her location meant I deserved to be lied to. Laura remained still, arms folded, but her gaze had softened. She'd heard stories like this before, from files, from victims, from the desperate confessions of men moments before doing something irreversible. But Jason wasn't posturing, there was no self-pity in his tone, just collapse. I stayed, he said quietly, even after I found the messages. She swore it was just flirting, that I was too sensitive, said she'd stop. And then I caught her in bed with some guy who wore sunglasses indoors. She was half naked and still had the nerve to call me a control freak for walking in without knocking. Laura blinked slowly. Jason swallowed. The worst part is, I still wanted her to see. Sorry, not even mean it, just say it, give me a line to pretend with, but she just looked at me like I was furniture. The room was silent. Jason didn't cry, he didn't scream, his shoulders just curled inward a little more, as if trying to fold himself into the smallest possible version of who he once was. Laura sat down in the armchair near the window. She didn't offer words, didn't pretend to understand, but she didn't leave, and that, for Jason, meant more than anything. They parted without ceremony, no promises, no exchange of numbers, no fake smiles. She just said, "Don't do anything stupid tonight." And he nodded. She left him in the dim hallway, not realizing she'd remember the way his shoulders sagged for weeks afterward. That night, Jason stared at the ceiling of his apartment, phone face down beside him. The silence pulsed like a heartbeat. At 2:47 a.m., his screen lit up. Silver Swan, check in. He blinked. Another message followed seconds later. Silver Swan, did you eat today? He replied, yeah, I think so. 10 seconds passed. Silver Swan. Don't think. No. Jason smiled faintly. He didn't know it then, but from that moment on, Laura messaged him every day, sometimes once, sometimes 5 times, sometimes just a single dot, but always something. Check in. Where are you? How's your sleep? You haven't opened your laptop in 2 days, that's not like you. At first, Jason thought it was just weird professionalism, like she was keeping tabs on him out of guilt. But then the messages became more pointed. Don't talk to that girl in HR, she gives the same smile Sarah used to. Stop Googling painless ways to die. That search is logged. If you need to cry, cry, but cry while eating. You're not a damn corpse. Jason didn't know how she knew. Maybe she'd installed something, maybe she hacked him, maybe she was just watching him through satellite, or, hell, maybe she guessed everything right, but the messages kept coming, and he kept replying. One night, he messaged her back, "Why do you care?" The response came 6 minutes later. Silver Swan. Because you don't, someone has to. Jason stared at that message for a long time. He didn't ask what she meant. He couldn't. Because if he asked, and she stopped replying, he wasn't sure he'd survive it. And yet, the irony wasn't lost on him. The only person treating him like he mattered was someone he paid by accident. A woman whose name probably wasn't Laura, whose face he hadn't fully seen, and whose profession might still involve literal executions. Every day, she told him what to do, how to live, when to rest. At first it annoyed him, then it comforted him. Now it was just necessary. He'd wake up looking for the notification. Get up. Drink water. Stretch. Sometimes it was simple, sometimes it was almost cruel. Sarah didn't break you, you just let her name linger too long. You're not fragile, just lazy. Fix it. Jason would argue, he'd send snarky replies, she never flinched. Until one day, she didn't message at all. He waited an hour, then 2, then 5, nothing. By midnight, his hands were shaking. He tried sleeping. Couldn't. Tried gaming. Couldn't focus. Stared at the blank wall. And for a terrifying moment, he realized he was waiting for someone who wasn't real. Someone who was supposed to be a one-night mistake. But her absence felt like the return of gravity. That night, Jason messaged her first. Are you okay? No reply. He tried again. Did I do something wrong? Still nothing. At 3:22 a.m., he broke. I miss you. That's pathetic, right? I know you're just some government bulletproof vest-wearing assassin with emotional damage, but I miss you. Finally, at 3:46 a.m., the screen lit. Silver Swan. I had a briefing. I'm fine. Then, but maybe you're the one who's not. Jason smiled so hard it hurt. He typed, maybe I'm addicted to your check-ins. Her reply, good, then stay alive for the next one. He whispered it to himself as he fell asleep. Stay alive for the next one. Jason wasn't expecting to see Sarah again, not in person, not in daylight. It happened on a Thursday. He was sipping burnt coffee at a small outdoor cafe, scrolling half-heartedly through job boards, when a shadow fell across his table. Wow, you really let yourself go. He looked up. There she was. Sarah. Hair curled to perfection, lips glossed like weaponized honey, sunglasses propped on her head like a tiara. Beside her stood a man with a jawline so sharp it could have opened envelopes. Designer tee, tucked in smugness. Miss me? She asked, pulling out the chair across from him without waiting for permission. Jason blinked. No, not once. The man chuckled like he'd been coached. Sarah leaned forward. That girl you've been seeing. What was her name again? Laura? Or was it Silver Swan? That's quite a nickname. Jason's stomach sank. How do you? She pulled out her phone, tapped. A few swipes later, she turned it toward him. There it was. A screenshot of him and Laura standing outside the Crescent Hotel, blurry but unmistakable. He was looking at her. She was adjusting her glove. I have more, Sarah said sweetly. One call and I can spin this into something juicy. You know how the internet is with phrases like sugar baby and public indecency, or worse. Jason clenched his jaw. You're bluffing. Oh, sweetheart, she said, her voice dripping. I don't bluff, not when I'm this broke. She slid a napkin across the table. It had a figure written in lipstick, 87,000. What is this? My debt, she said with a bright smile. Pay it off, and I won't say a word. Jason stared at her, then at the man beside her, who looked vaguely embarrassed to be there, then back at Sarah. You came here to blackmail me? No, baby, she said softly. I came here to give you closure, and a choice. A quiet voice cut through the tension. Then maybe it's time someone closed this account. They all turned. Laura stood a few feet away, hair in a loose ponytail, jeans, a plain cardigan over a tank top, no mask, no leather, just her. To everyone else, she looked like a passerby, but Jason could see it, the steel in her spine, the precision in her step. Sarah raised an eyebrow. Wow, you clean up nice, still taking money for secrets? Laura walked forward, calm and slow. Sarah kept going. What's the deal, huh? He pay you by the hour or the night? Laura tilted her head. Actually, he paid by accident, but the refund came with interest. Jason stood. Laura, you don't need to. She held up a hand, eyes still on Sarah. You made a mistake, she said, voice low and lethal. You thought this was about him. Sarah snorted. It is, he still loves me, he'll come around. Laura stepped forward, toe to toe now. Sarah, she said, pulling a badge from her back pocket and flashing it quick and clean. Federal agent, Cybercrime Division, Undercover Operations Specialist. Silence. Even the smug boyfriend coughed and took a step back. Jason blinked. You're serious? Laura didn't look away. This entire sting was aimed at exposing blackmail rings tied to adult subscription laundering. You just voluntarily implicated yourself. Sarah's lips parted. You're lying. Jeffrey appeared from behind the cafe's planter wall. I've got audio, he said, holding up a tiny mic. She threatened him, in public, with witnesses. Sarah looked around, eyes wide now. You set me up? Laura smiled faintly. This time, she said, I booked you. The words hit like a slap. Jason nearly choked. Jeffrey just burst out laughing. God damn, that's a line. Sarah looked like she'd been slapped for real. Her mascara suddenly seemed too heavy, her gloss too fake. You tricked me. No, Laura said, stepping aside as two plainclothes officers moved in. You tricked yourself. They read her rights as she stammered, struggling, yanking her arm free. You'll regret this, Jason. You think she cares about you? You're just another job to her. Jason didn't flinch. Laura didn't look away. Sarah was dragged off, her shouts fading into traffic. When it was quiet again, Jason turned to Laura. You're really a Fed? Laura shrugged. More or less. And all that, when we first met. A misunderstanding. And a test. Jason blinked. A test? She nodded. You passed. Barely. Jeffrey clapped a hand on Jason's shoulder. Bro, I don't know what the hell that was, but you win breakup revenge of the year. Jason looked at Laura, who was already walking back toward the sidewalk. He jogged after her. Wait. She stopped. I thought you were going to disappear again. Laura looked over her shoulder, voice soft. Maybe I was, but someone reminded me. If I don't check in, who will? Jason exhaled. And this time, when she walked away, she didn't walk alone. 2 days after Sarah was released on bail, Jason got a call from HR. They weren't subtle. Due to recent online allegations circulating your name, we're placing you on temporary leave pending internal review. This is not a termination, yet, but we suggest you refrain from contact with any clients until this is resolved. Click. Jason stared at the screen, then at his laptop, emails marked unread, comments flooding his LinkedIn with emojis and hashtags he didn't understand. Hashtag predator alert. #justice for Sarah. Hashtag cancelled. In real time. It was everywhere. Screenshots, quotes, cropped images of him walking next to Laura. One post even accused him of financial coercion of an escort turned informant. He sat still for a long time, letting it wash over him. Then he reached for his phone and typed 2 words. Jason. Ready? Laura. See you at 5, wear black, and no stupid lines this time. At precisely 5:02 p.m., Sarah stepped into the lobby of Rothman Klein, a well-known downtown law firm. She wore a cream blazer and a victory smile. Her newest man of the week trailed behind, holding her designer purse like it was part of his job description. Inside the conference room, the lights were soft, the air chilled. Jason sat at the far end of the table, alone, no lawyers, no witnesses, just him and a manila folder. Sarah sauntered in like she'd already won. Well, this is a step up. I like the vibe, very man being sued for his life. Jason didn't respond. She sat across from him, crossed her legs, and smiled. I'm willing to settle. You wire me $100K by Friday. I post a retraction, a little oopsie, everyone wins. Jason tilted his head slightly. And if I say no? Sarah pouted. Then I double the posts. TikTok, Instagram, maybe even a Medium article. Something heartfelt. Title it, The Night the Hotel Door Never Locked. I cry on camera. You lose your job. She loses her badge. Jason raised an eyebrow. So it's a threat. She smiled. It's a choice. There was a small click. Laura walked in. Dressed in a black blazer, hair pinned tightly back, phone in hand. She nodded to Jason, then to Sarah. Oh, look, the silent escort speaks, Sarah snapped. Laura didn't flinch. She sat across from Sarah, placed her phone face down, and folded her hands neatly. Let's talk about options, she said calmly. Option 1, you walk out of here and keep digging your own grave. Option 2, you say something really stupid in the next 5 minutes, and we hand over all evidence to the district attorney. Sarah laughed, full and bright. Please, what evidence? Jason opened the manila folder. Inside were printed screenshots, video stills, timestamps, audio logs, and a contract Sarah had signed herself 2 years ago for a PR gig that involved, ironically, media ethics training. He slid it across the table. Sarah skimmed it, unbothered. So, you printed the internet? Jason leaned back. Not quite. He pointed to the phone Laura had placed earlier. It's live. Sarah blinked. Say hi to Officer Henderson on the other end, Laura said. She's in the next room. A beat of silence. Then Sarah stood. You tricked me. Laura looked up at her with deadly calm. No, I let you talk. Jason pushed back his chair, slow and deliberate. He stood, walked around the table, and stopped in front of Sarah. She looked up at him, but this time, the smugness was cracking. He reached into his coat pocket and pulled out a folded note. Read it out loud, he said. Sarah hesitated. Read it, Laura repeated, flat. Sarah's fingers shook as she unfolded it, her voice trembled as she spoke. You used to say I was your emotional bank, so here's my final deposit, 15 years behind bars. Click. A flash went off. Through the glass window, 3 local journalists and 1 police rep stood outside, watching through the one-way tint. The doors burst open seconds later. Sarah's smile crumbled. Wait, Jason, please, don't do this, you don't have to. But he was already walking past her. No words, no fury, just silence. She lunged for him, grabbing his wrist. I still loved you, she whispered. Jason looked at her. Finally, calm, resolute, and distant. You never loved anything but yourself. Sarah was pulled away, clicking heels, clicking handcuffs, clicking shutters. Outside, the air smelled like rain and asphalt. Jason stepped into the open, blinking as the sun dipped behind the skyline. Laura stood beside a black car, arms crossed. He walked toward her slowly. You timed that too perfectly, he said. I had help. She nodded at Jeffrey, leaning against a nearby wall, munching chips. You owe me new AirPods, Jeffrey called out. I lost one crawling under the damn conference table. Jason shook his head. I don't even remember asking you for help. Jeffrey grinned. You didn't, but bros know when to tag in. Jason turned back to Laura. You didn't have to do this. Laura shrugged. She crossed a line. Jason studied her. Was it for me, or for you? Laura didn't answer. Not with words. She stepped forward and looked him in the eyes. And in the middle of that chaotic downtown courtyard, without ever touching, they stood like that, long enough for everything to pass between them that words would only cheapen. Not romance, not promises, just mutual recognition. Two broken people who, despite the wreckage, still stood tall. Jason smiled first. Laura finally returned it, small and real. And in that moment, the world didn't need declarations. Just eye contact. And no masks. Jason had never been good at thank yous, not real ones, not the kind that carry the weight of "you saved my life" without cheapening it into something corny or dramatic. So he just sat there beside Laura on the courthouse steps, arms resting on his knees, watching the orange haze of early evening settle over the city. He cleared his throat. "Thanks, for everything." Laura didn't look at him. "Don't get sentimental." He smirked. "You did threaten to shoot me the first time we met. I could still be persuaded." They both went quiet again. And that's how it was, after. Not dramatic. Not romantic. Just a low simmer of connection neither knew how to label. Their texts became shorter, less frequent. From check-in, to alive, to nothing. Jason convinced himself it was normal. That whatever this was had run its course. Until 6 nights later, someone knocked on his door at 1:04 a.m., not a message, not a call. An actual knock. He opened it half asleep, t-shirt twisted, hair uncombed. And there she was. Laura. No mask. No armor, no leather. Just jeans, hoodie, and a small duffel bag slung over her shoulder like she'd walked halfway across the city before deciding to come. Her eyes looked darker than usual, like the world had pressed down on her a little harder than it should. "I want to talk," she said, stepping past him without waiting for permission. Jason blinked. "Now? I didn't come to stab you, that was Tuesday." He closed the door, heart thudding harder than it should. Laura dropped the bag on the floor, her hands moved to her coat. Jason opened his mouth to ask what was in the bag, but then she unbuttoned the coat, slowly, deliberately, and underneath, a bell collar. Soft black leather with a small silver bell in the center, resting at the hollow of her throat. Attached, dangling loose, a chain. Jason's brain stopped working. She didn't speak, didn't smile, just stall, odd there, eyes half daring him to react. Jason swallowed. "You remembered. You said something about it once, in a message, right before you asked for a picture of my thighs." He coughed. "Context matters." Laura stepped closer, voice dropping to a near whisper. "So? You gonna stare all night or finally say something clever?" He stared a second longer, then broke. They crashed together like two tectonic plates, laughter and want colliding at once. Clothes hit the floor in clumsy, unscripted layers. Laura's chain snagged on his t-shirt. Jason tripped over his socks. She bit his shoulder mid-laugh. He hit his head on the headboard trying to kiss her collar, and none of it was perfect, but it was real. Afterward, Jason lay with one arm across his eyes, chest rising and falling, trying to catch his breath. Laura pulled on one of his button-downs, 3 sizes too big, and wandered into the kitchen like it was her place. She returned with a glass of water and perched on the edge of the bed, tucking her legs under her. "You still alive?" she asked. "Barely." "Impressive, you lasted longer than the bell did." He groaned. "Don't remind me." Laura took a sip of water, then looked down at the chain resting across her thigh. "So," she said slowly. "What am I now?" Jason turned his head toward her. "Huh?" She leaned closer, cocking her head. "Your glamour model? Your hitman? Or your girlfriend?" Jason didn't answer right away. He looked at her, really looked, the crooked collarbone, the faint scar near her temple, the way she always kept her wrists close to her body, even when relaxed, her guarded laughter, her mouth, which always looked like it had 1,000 comebacks but only gave you one. He reached out and touched her hand, gently. "No masks this time," he said. "I just want you, as you are." Laura blinked. That one cracked her. She looked away for a beat. Then sighed. "God, you're worse when you're sincere." He smiled. She pulled her hand away, stood, walked to her bag, and pulled something out. A familiar set of steel handcuffs. She dangled them from one finger. "By the way," she said, tone cool again, "ordering unauthorized services online is still illegal under Section 66. Jason narrowed his eyes. Is this foreplay or an arrest? Depends. On what? She smirked. On whether you confess. Jason slowly sat up, sheets slipping off his torso. He raised one brow. To what? Laura leaned forward, eyes locking with his. That you're not pretending anymore. That this, us, isn't just survival. Jason's voice was barely above a whisper. I confess. Laura looked satisfied, then tossed the cuffs onto the bed. I'll decide later if I'm cuffing you for love, or obstruction of justice. He laughed, full and unfiltered, and this time, when she climbed into bed beside him, neither of them felt like they were stealing something. They were building it, no scripts, no games, just something scarred and solid, something real.